Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. 6 teams went into Championship Saturday, 2 teams have come out the other side. Your grand finalists are set for the World Championship of Call of Duty 2024, and what an unbelievable day we had. If you had to write a script of what could have happened today to get us to this point, the script writers would have probably come up with something like this, and the COD gods have actually made it happen. From start to finish, it was unbelievable. An incredible amount of storyline today. We're going to talk about FaZe, we're going to talk about OpTic Texas, and we're going to talk about so much else in between. Very much into your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. One of the first things to talk about, by the way, is a fight that we had, apparently. I didn't really see any of this going on, but I know we were on the watch party today, and someone said in the chat, hey, like, there's been some sort of commotion downstairs, and a couple of boys here, I don't know exactly whether, it was like a FaZe fan or an OpTic fan, or I'm guessing that there were probably just too many drinks going on. These guys got arrested. I don't know. Like, this is just hilarious stuff. Hopefully nothing too problematic happened here, but I saw some people talking about, like, oh, it's bigger than red and green. You remember when that was going around a couple of events ago? There was like FaZe fans, OpTic fans, and obviously when the game's going on, it's tense and it's focus, and when the game's off, it's all chill. It's bigger than red and green, and well, maybe that was a similar story today. There was loads of pictures of this, by the way, as well. Like, this is another example of this brother on the floor getting detained, and then there's your boy in the FaZe jersey in the background, also against the wall, and there's a lot of police presence, of course, this event as well, and I guess, they had to find something to do, so that's what happened there. There was also, by the way, today, confirmation of some of the teams that are going to be at the Esports World Cup. FaZe made it. I think Awakening's team made it. Cammy's team made it. That's Awakening's team, actually. RTT's team made it, as did Bantz's team. So I think those are the 4 teams, right? Because Gorillas aren't going because their organisation has said, nah, brother, we ain't paying for anything that we don't have to in terms of flights or whatever. So that meant that 4 teams qualify for the World Cup rather than just 3, and the top 4 have now been confirmed. So I think Asim's team's got to come for the losers bracket, but it's really cool to see this actually, like those challenger guys that ended up qualifying for the World Cup, as well as, of course, trying to go one step further and winning the grand finals tomorrow. But let's talk about this FaZe series, and oh my god, like, I could not believe my eyes when I saw this stuff. Like, honestly, who approved this? Genuinely, who approved this? I don't approve this. I mean, I probably would have approved this, but I didn't approve this, right? Like, I was kind of mind blown that the production team gave this the green light. I'm not gonna lie. I was talking to a couple of people about it. I'm pretty sure that, like Darian and those she was with were aware that there might have been, some sort of crowd footage, but they were certainly not aware that it was going to be any sort of like WWE 1v1. Just to paint the picture real quick if you guys aren't familiar, this on the left-hand side is Keeks, Drazah's girl, controversial character. This is Darian on the right-hand side, Scrappy's girl, and they've had lots of beef. And, there's plenty of videos on this channel that go over that in much detail over the last several months. But I thought it is worth a conversation really about just the idea of the league getting involved in that. I don't know what you guys think. Like, I'm not going to complain about it. If I was them, I wouldn't be happy about it, like, straight up. But, from like a neutral perspective, obviously it's very entertaining, and it's just been a general community discussion. But for the league production to bring them into it, and obviously Keeks was, throwing the middle fingers up and all this, and it was just unbelievable. See, it's like, maybe there's an argument that you just keep it between the players, right? You keep it between Scrap and Draz, but then again, Scrap was turning around, talking all sorts of stuff to Keeks, it seemed like, during the series. The game gets underway, and as I said earlier today, like, my head said that FaZe would win, but my heart kind of said that Toronto would win, because we've seen it before. And, during the first game, Scrappy was on the comm saying, Cell, are you trying to win? And this is a conversation with FaZe. We talked about earlier on today, if they do bow out top 6, which they now have, what do they do? What changes do they make? Can you possibly maintain this team they currently have? I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to do so. And I think that I'd argue, honestly, that keeping this team right now would probably be a mistake. I think that it's been proven that as a team, they simply don't have what it takes often enough, right? Like, genuinely, I know I've talked about the comms before, but, like, you go to the comms with FaZe, and it's like I know Cellium's obviously talented, but I'm hearing Simp and I'm hearing Drazah, really, actually doing communication. Like, aBeZy is understandable, but, you know, I want more on that side of things. I don't hear the small talk, I don't hear the teamwork, I don't hear the cohesion that I get from these other teams, and, look, you can talk about the coaches, you can talk about whatever, but, you know, even Envoy's up here talking trash, so is Insight. You don't see that every day of the week, but, yeah, obviously this is some more tweets here on the girlfriend cam, because this is pretty wild. This actually was a little bit of video footage, I guess I might as well share here while we're at it, right? Because, so this is L's, right, Darian's friends, and, for some reason they were on her instead. I don't know, production made a mess of this whole thing, I'm not gonna lie, and, yeah, this is Darian here. Obviously, Keeks is going to throw up the middle fingers and everything. I could not believe my eyes watching this, to be honest. I'm sure the reaction on the other watch parties as well was memorable indeed. And then Scrappy goes up to this. So I'm pretty sure he turns around here and throws up the little crying emoji. I'm pretty sure he's got to be pointing at Keeks, isn't he? I don't know if he actually is or not, but who else is he pointing to? And then apparently, you know, from this perspective, like he was saying, where's she at? Where's she at? So, yeah, imagine read between the lines on that one. But, yeah, so, okay, we've got, I mean, I've had enough clips of this, I think, at this point. We can probably move on at this point. Drazah did make a nice little 4-piece, actually, in the control. They lost the Search and Destroy as well. The Search and Destroy wasn't even, like, especially close. And then FaZe come out and get 3-0'd. FaZe, I think this is a true stat, were not 3-0'd all the year. They went the entire year, they lost some series, but they did not lose 3-0. And Toronto Ultra come in a massive series, Scrap versus Drazah, and they hit the hot 3-0. And Drazah has got a lot to think about right now. I don't know what's happened to this FaZe team, but they're clearly on some level compromised. I'm sure that part of it is probably out of game stuff, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this FaZe trio in the coming days. Like, you know, there are so many storylines coming out of this, but as I said earlier today, top 6 is an untenable result, and for a team as good as this FaZe team to have gone Simp and aBeZy, right, when they were first in the league. Simp, for example, first, second were his first 4 champs results. He was 3rd last year, he's now 6th this year. And Scrappy continues to have Drazah's number this year on LAN, absolutely no doubt about that. And yeah, okay, this is the stat that I'm mentioning here. Top 6 for Simp. I mean, he's the MVP. He's not going to place top 3 or better. Simp and aBeZy's worst championship placing, their worst major tournament placing since kickoff in Vanguard. They were on a 13 spree of getting top 3 phase, and now they've fallen short again. So it's like, you know, this FaZe team that was compared to the likes of the OpTic Dynasty, the Cold Dynasty, I think it's honestly time to put those discussions to bed, and more than likely, the team is going to get put to bed, even if there is no real clear upgrade or whatever you're going to do. At some point, the team has just run its course, and I think we saw glimpses of that over the last couple of weeks, and we certainly saw the result of that here at the World Championship, right? So, yeah, this was a tweet and a half. And these were the numbers, right? Drazah had a bad start to the series, and he ended up with a 0.75 in the end. Insight, I want to give him credit. I know that his damage isn't great here, but I think over the last few series, he's definitely turned it around, as has Envoy, to be fair. But the remarkable thing to me about the series in many ways was just the fact that FaZe typically will never go down easily. Like, when they lose a tournament and they bow out, they're usually very competitive, fight to the death, never get 3-0'd. Like, FaZe have just been 3-0'd their final series of the season. Like, if that doesn't say, and you can look at body language as well, like, to me, the way that they even walked back onto the stage after going down 2-0, the way that after the series is over, aBeZy's just, he's walking off, he's out of there, you know, they're not consoling each other, they're just walking off as 4 individuals, like, you know, maybe I'm over-reading it, right, but I was looking at this stuff, because I'm intrigued to see what's happening there behind the scenes, and more than likely, rather a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk about that soon enough. Okay, a few other series I have to mention in rather quicker time because we have a lot to discuss. But Thieves took down Miami. This was actually seriously impressive, I thought. Because I thought Miami, to be honest, a Game 5 win here was on the cards. But I was really impressed by Thieves this tournament. And I think the main thing for me for Thieves here is that they will go into this Rostermania period, this off-season, with some serious understanding from the likes of other players that they are a serious force. And I think Nadeshot has made the implication that they've got more money potentially to spend going forwards. And if you're looking at Thieves, they've come top 4 this event. That was not necessarily expected. I thought they had the potential. I think we even predicted them on the Dope Check show top 4 at Major 4. That didn't happen. But, you know, they came top 4 at the World Championship at the end. And this was a very comfortable victory for the Los Angeles Thieves. A quick 3-0 over Miami with an absolutely ridiculous series again from Mr. Dan Ghosty. So if you're Thieves, you've got to keep Ghosty next year. you know, who else are you keeping? Maybe JoeDeceives, maybe Kremp, maybe Nastie. You can make a case for all of those guys to stay. You can make a case for all of those guys to possibly go, depending on what upgrades you have on the table. But I think the Thieves will have definitely, from like an advertisement perspective, put themselves back on the map to some degree this tournament. Just saying, look, we are still a serious force, because the last few years, it's been FaZe, it's been OpTic, it's been Toronto, it's been New York at times, and of course, it's been Los Angeles Thieves, the winners of the World Championship in 2022. But ever since they ran out of money, basically, they were off the radar this year, but now potentially they're back, and it's just cool, I think, for the storylines that with FaZe dropping out and being the only top 4 team not to end the season in the top 4, Thieves are the ones to take their place. But oh my god, OpTic Texas versus the New York Subliners, and there was talk about this. I thought the Subliners in 5 was a pretty fair prediction, but OpTic, once again, we talked about this when they won Major 3. They looked incredible on that championship Sunday. The rest of the weekend, not so much. The question really was, could they maintain that level? Could they catch lightning in a bottle again? Would lightning strike twice? As soon as I saw Shotzzy's face today, and even yesterday, to be fair, and even the day before, I was like, yeah, this OpTic team has found something, and it's tough to know exactly what to credit for a lot of the success that they're having so far this tournament. I have to mention accuracy, because it is a known fact. Okay, it's not a fact, it's not official. OpTic will not talk about it yet for various reasons that we'll probably get into after the tournament concludes. But accuracy has been, you know, talking to those guys, and the outcome, and maybe, you know, it's not like he deserves full credit for their turnaround, but I think that accuracy does deserve some credit for whatever he may or may not have said to those guys, getting them from a position from being literally top 12 last major to looking again like world beaters, because they should be. But today my question was, look, Pred and Shotzzy have both been on fire at this tournament, and that continued today. The question was, could they get Kenny, and could they get Dashy to really perform? Because I think, honestly, with the way that Pred and Shotzzy are playing from a confidence POV, you know what you're getting from them. Dashy and Kenny have been the ones that need to step up. However, OpTic, they still have a tendency to throw rounds in search. Like, they're up 5-3 here in the search. They squandered the lead. There was a couple of chances they had, and I was like, oh my god, please don't tell me for the green wall here in attendance that it's going to be the same old story, but it wasn't. And then Shotzzy went, like, if you want to say flow state, I know that was a kind of buzzword of a while ago here at the COD scene, but I mean, this was unbelievable. 35-12, single-handedly basically won OpTic this invasion control. He was so impossibly difficult to kill. And this is the energy, right? Like, what a shot. Dashy, Pred, Shotzzy, the crowd in the background. It was the loudest I've ever heard a crowd in Call of Duty. Like, we've had some great crowds in COD. I've been there in London. But a crowd that was effectively packed out here on the Saturday, with OpTic winning a series in this manner, it was, you know, nothing like I've ever experienced at a Call of Duty event, and long may it continue, right, and I'm sure it's going to continue tomorrow. As I said, if you wanted to make this event one of the greatest, if not the greatest events ever, not even just World Championships ever, OpTic needed to make the finals, and that's exactly what they did. They nearly brought a crazy comeback again, by the way, on the Game 4. Of course, as we saw a crazy comeback Game 1, they nearly brought it Game 4, they didn't. Subliners, super hard to beat. And New York, they love a Game 5. Every tournament or every match they've played has gone to a Game 5. And Shotzzy said after this that in the Search and Destroy, they prepared very well on Invasion. They knew they were going to be a serious force to contend with on this map, and they delivered a masterclass Invasion, Search and Destroy. And honestly, even like the ReeaL, I thought was a masterclass for some of the rounds. And then, of course, they lost down the stretch. But OpTic was so impressive today. They're such a different team where they're playing with this level of confidence if this actually wants to load. And this is one of the crazy stats. I know that I mentioned this on stream as well on the watch party. In 11-12 years of World Championships, OpTic have made the Grand Finals precisely one time. That was in 2017. 2013, they weren't there. 14, 15, 16, they weren't there either. 2017, they made Finals, they won. Since then, even since the CDL, OpTic have not been, you know, they've been close. They've come top 3 with the likes of the Huntsman. 2019, they were top 3. But since then, it's not been the case until today, and we talked about this genuinely since there were rumors that Champs was going to be in Texas. This was a talking point, and you know, here comes accuracy. Those OpTic boys are going insane this event, he says. But just what a performance. I thought they actually shut down HyDra as well, which is a key talking point of this series. HyDra in both Search and Destroys had a bit of a rough time, and you know, Kiz with another 0.7 here. But I think the Dashy 1.3 takeover, given the fact that Pred and Shotzzy are performing at stellar levels, and they're in the grand finals. What a story. Quickly on the Ultra versus Los Angeles Thieves series, this actually was incredibly competitive, but I always felt that Ultra probably would just about have the upper hand. When it comes down to a game 5, that, I always felt like Thieves were maybe just going to be on slightly the back foot, but I was really impressed by, especially the Los Angeles Thieves here. Everyone had their moments in this series. It was a super tense game 5. Envoy versus Kremp 1 versus 1. I think that in this moment it was quite interesting because Envoy sits in this corner. Kremp could, if he wanted to, at this moment right about here, go for the ninja defuse. Because Kremp's coming to the site, they get into a bit of an engagement, and, so they see each other right here. So at this point, I think there's certain players that would have just straight up hopped it, because Envoy is a little bit concerned about what to do, and eventually he wins the gunfight onto Kremp. Scrappy was talking all sorts of trash, throwing up the birds. He actually threw up, like, the Kremp birds when he puts the finger out, like he puts the thumb out to the right-hand side, which not every player does. This was another moment though. We had some crazy wall banks. I knew that people were saving stuff for the World Championship. This was one of them. And as JoeDeceives says, well, at least I could ruin the World Championship Rio Search and Destroy for the rest of the weekend, because that is something to think about. But Thieves, commendably, but nonetheless, they bow out of the tournament, and Toronto continue their incredible losers bracket run. And the final game of the day, the series that was to determine which team was going to go to the championship final to face OpTic Texas. Could Toronto get the job done? The answer is no. And coming into today, even coming into yesterday, my feeling was that Subliners were quite possibly the team to beat. They, in terms of preparation, in terms of team chemistry and team cohesion, all these other factors, New York Subliners, on average, at the end of the season at least, over the last couple of years, have been almost always the team to beat. And I think if you're OpTic, you would probably have preferred to play Toronto in the finals than New York. And tweet your thoughts in the comments below on that, but I think that Toronto are more vulnerable, as we know historically, to a big breakdown. This, of course, was in some ways the Kismet versus Scrappy rematch at the World Championship. What happened last year? Subliners destroyed them. Not the case this time around, but Scrappy, of course, was looking to get his ring, right? I mean, what a player he's been. He's come into the league now for 2 seasons. 2nd last year, 3rd this year, getting very close to that championship ring, but it's not happened yet, and it's not going to happen tomorrow because the Subliners, again, they're the ones to get the job done. After winning game 1, though, Toronto, this was a crazy wallbang spot here. As I said earlier, I knew that teams were going to be prepping something. This was one such example here of, well, Skyz wallbanging all the way through Karachi. So Karachi searches ruins, Rio searches ruins, but that's fine. We've got one more day to go in the grand finals here. Ultra then, they win the control of a very impressive game to go up 2-1 in the series, but then Subliners, as always, they bounce back. Their hardpoint has just been so good as of late that, they're never going to lose like 2 of these in a series, it seems like right now, and I'm just really impressed by New York, right? The fact that they put this team together with the intention to do exactly what they're trying to do now, and if you're OpTic, you've got to be concerned. I mean, look, they're going to be confident, but Toronto were, like, unbelievably, they thought they were going to win last year's champs, obviously. They got completely annihilated in last year's champs grand finals. Like, Subliners are a scary team in a champs grand finals, and in this final map of the series, it wasn't even especially close. CleanX had a hard time. Eventually, he got a kill, but it was, Skyz making plays, Sib making serious plays. And this is the issue with HyDra. You're very rarely going to find this guy is going to have 2 bad series in a row. He had 1 bad series to drop down to losers. It ain't going to happen again, probably. And he bounces back with 90 kills, a 1.17. Great series out of Sib as well, of course. He dropped the most damage in the entire lobby. As I cast some insights earlier, rough one for him here, to be fair, and for CleanX. Actually, a really bad tournament by CleanX's standards. So as much as I would have liked to have seen us have OpTic versus Scrappy in the grand finals, in some ways this storyline is more interesting in the fact that I was pretty sure that if Subliners lost this, they're probably not making a change anyway. They, to be honest, like, Kismet's dropped a 0.6, a 0.7, and a 0.7, right? Back to back to back. He ain't playing his best COD right now, and if he turns up tomorrow, it's scary for the opposition. I'm not going to lie, in OpTic Texas. But nonetheless, I think that Toronto were probably more likely to make a change if they came top 3, and that's exactly where we find ourselves. So, what a day. Let's leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow morning to discuss everything Championship Sunday. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.